Hi everyone, my name is Becky Fowler and I will be presenting my process improvement project on the benefit of standardized recipes. For my food service management rotation, I worked in Stonington School District. It is a district that consists of 6 schools, including 1 high school, 2 middle schools, and 3 elementary schools. After a couple of weeks of being there, I realized that this school district did not have standardized recipes, which was very surprising to me because I just assumed it would be some sort of requirement or guideline, and they did not have them. So from that was born my process improvement project. What are standardized recipes? A standardized recipe is a recipe that has been tried, adapted, and retried several times for use by a given food service operation and has been found to produce the same good results in yield every time when the exact procedures are used with the same type of equipment and the same quantity of ingredients. So what does that mean in relation to school food service? Well, as you can see, standardized recipes can have a very positive effect on portion control, lowered costs, and they will allow an establishment to produce less waste, which is better for the environment. One of the benefits to being in a school is learning all about the new school guidelines that have come out over the last few years, courtesy of our wonderful First Lady. And the guidelines I have listed here are requirements for the lunch menus, and it just gives you a basic idea of the averages that are allowed over a week. They can vary a little day to day, but this needs to be the average over the week. So the effect on portion control that standardized recipes can have really starts right here. So to receive federal funding, schools must follow these guidelines and that are set by the federal government, and they are audited by whichever state they are in every 3 years. While I was doing my rotation at Stonington, they received paperwork saying that their next audit will be in January of 2015. So one thing that standardized recipes can do to help them out is it's going to help speed up their auditing process, because their auditor will be able to just refer back to all of the recipes, and it will also assist the employees to be on point when they are being watched by the auditor. The other thing that the portion control will have an effect on in relation to the standardized recipes is providing sufficient nutrition to students without allowing excess calories. And I know that all of us are aware of the childhood obesity epidemic that we have going on in our country right now. So in my menu project, one of the side items that I had was roasted ranch potatoes. When I did the nutrient analysis on that, a 4-ounce serving was 182 calories compared to a 3-ounce serving, which was only 137 calories. So just that extra ounce gave an extra 45 or 50 calories, which pushed it over the limit of what is allowed each day. And so these are things that need to be kept in mind, and a benefit of standardized recipes is to be able to keep these portion controls smaller so that we're not overfeeding our children. The next effect that standardized recipes can have on some sort of food service establishment is the effect on cost. So in the last slide, we discussed some of the guidelines of the school lunch program, but one more guideline is that students in grades K through 8, all students are required to be served fruit every day, and students K through 8 are required to have a half cup of fruit per day. So one of the financial analyses that my preceptor and I looked at was the cost of serving the K through 8 students a whole apple versus a half of an apple, and the difference that it makes from a monetary standpoint. When serving the K through 8 students a whole apple each day, it costs the program about $5,500 each year. But if we serve those students a half of an apple, then the cost is reduced to 2,250 calories. And the great thing is that serving the students a half of an apple will still fulfill the requirement of the half cup of serving each day of fruit that they need to have. The last big area that standardized recipes can have is on waste and the way that it can reduce it. One of the studies I looked at for this project discussed how our portion sizes have increased over the last few years, just in things like pasta, cookies, muffins, pizza slices, and it's incredible that portion sizes have increased 195 to up to 700% over the last 40 years. And sadly, in the United States, Americans throw out about 40% of the food that we purchase, and 97% of that food will end up in a landfill, which contributes to global warming, which, as we know, is very detrimental to our environment. So if we can find ways to reduce waste through use of standardized recipes, then that will be very beneficial. And tying the costs and the waste together is a point that school food service programs will be required to have less deliveries, which means it's going to be less gasoline used by the companies that are delivering the food, and it's really just a win-win situation all around as far as cost for the food service programs and the environment. So here's a list of all of the benefits that can come from using standardized recipes in any sort of establishment, but specifically in school food service when you have a lot of guidelines to follow. And you want to make sure that you're feeding your students really, really well every day. So your food quality, customer satisfaction, control costs, things like that are really great. But I think the most important point is it's decreased stress and less headaches for nutrition services directors everywhere, and especially for their staff, because it's just going to make their job much easier in the end. Here is a sample of my in-service training on the importance of portion control. And one of the things that I did touch on was how standardized recipes are coming to the school district that I worked in. And I've spoken with my preceptor since my rotation ended in November, and they have actually implemented standardized recipes into their establishment to prepare for January's audit with the state of Connecticut. So I hope that you learned something new from this presentation and that you've enjoyed it, and I thank you for listening and watching.